Hello, everyone. We have come to the last program of the series I have named FAQ, Frequently Asked Questions, which were basically questions I get asked personally, either face-to-face or through FB Messenger. And I thought doing a series of public programs like that might actually help, especially if you're on my FB page, this or the personal or the educational one. Now, this question, more than ever, I have to emphasize, this would be my take on this because many theories, many people are divided on the issue of how much grammar is needed when you teach a language as a second language. And what I will do today is tell you what I think about it. And it could easily be wrong in some other framework or according to what you think. But I thought it important that I present what I feel about this issue. Now, grammar, I would say very clearly, is not important if you're growing up in an environment in which English is already a part of it. So naturally, if you're exposed to this language, you will get the structures even without knowing what the structures are. If you take the mother tongue, Sinhala or Tamil, kids learn it through what we call acquisition. They hear it and the structures come into their, inside them so that when they produce the language, of course, it will be wrong at the beginning. There's no grammatical sense expected even, but as they grow up, they talk fluently and there's no issue of knowing what the grammar is. So, no, you don't need to know grammar if you are in an environment which naturally gives you input in that language. Grammar is necessary only if you're learning about the language, like a linguist, but not if you're learning the language, especially if you're in an environment that naturally gives you an input in the language. And it's because of this belief that the University of Sri Jayawardenepura is putting into place a little project called Language Acquisition Centers right throughout the country, where we are hoping little children will be exposed to the English language, even if they are from an environment that has no English in it. Even if the parents don't know English, if they ask us for the songs and the stories that are read out in English, and if they just put it for the children to hear, English becomes a part of their environment, even if they are not within an English speaking community, which naturally 99% of Sri Lanka isn't, right? So that is the ILACs. I'll talk about that later. If you're on my FB, you've already heard about this. So those are going to be called English Language Acquisition Centers because they are meant for children. The libraries will carry it right throughout the country so that parents can bring them to hear the language when they are growing up so that English also can be acquired by children who are learning their first language as well. Now, the question I think becomes more valid when you come to, for example, my context, in my job, in my career, because I'm in the Department of English Language Teaching, and we are trying to teach basic English to adults who come into campus. I strongly feel many do that now that you can't talk about acquisition very much because they are still they have the brains have developed into an extent that rational logical thinking is coming into play, and naturally adults and within the university system want to know why they are doing what they are doing generally, right? So there grammar can play a part because within the campus, they are still in an environment which doesn't necessarily give you a lot of English input unless you're in the medical faculty or science faculties, which teach in English. Now, I'm in the arts faculty, and many people can again survive without English, especially if they think reading is not important. And unfortunately, that has been, really unfortunately, even within campuses, reading books with updated knowledge is not considered a very essential thing to do. So within that context, if we expect students simply to acquire or learn the language without telling what they are learning, the journey is going to be a bit more difficult than normal. They might want to know what the grammar point is. Having said that, one thing I know is people give undue respect for grammar because they think knowing grammar actually makes them know the language. Now, for that, I can give a very clear, emphatic no. I had done a project some time ago. At the moment, it's kind of stopped till I get the ELACs put in, where some of us provided practice to those in need of someone to communicate in English. We did this on WhatsApp. It's called the Bhasha Buddy project. We are going to restart it soon once these ELACs are put in place, where we anonymously, we texted back at our partners in English. We had conversations and they didn't know who we were. And two of my people, when I said, why aren't you actually using English? The fact answer was, I don't know English grammar. And I personally told them, you don't need English grammar to use it, right? So that excuse, that reason, can I please say that is not a valid thing? Because you can know grammar, you can get 100 out of 100 for a grammar paper and still not use the language. So it's a false belief to think simply knowing grammar makes you a proficient language user. You've got to use the language as much as you can through reading, through listening, through watching films, through reading newspapers, talking to somebody who will excuse your kind of substandard language. Those are usages which will help you learn the language. And if you kind of keep making a mistake, knowing the grammar rule will help you correct it as an adult, right? That is the thing. You need to use it. Knowing grammar won't help you use it more than you can already do. You've got to find spaces to use it. If you can't find a friend to talk to, read. Reading is available on the internet. If you don't have good libraries, read, watch films, expose yourself to English songs, dance if you can. Expose yourself, use it, then grammar doesn't become very important. Now, the reason Sri Lankan people put so much emphasis on grammar is that we have an education system in which facts are very important. People love taking notes. People love giving notes. It's very easy. Grammar is the easiest to teach, easiest to learn. Like even on YouTube, I do grammar lessons, right? It's easy. It's like maths. And if you go to a class and the lecturer gives you like 20 pages of grammar, you feel, oh, I've had a good class. But if the teacher chats to you for 2 hours, you might think, what was that, right? So, but the real fact is, if the teacher actually chatted with you and you spoke 2 hours in English, that may have been a more useful one than a grammar rule, which you can get within a minute through the YouTube or the internet. We love that kind of teacher giving the student something kind of teaching. It's very rarely student-centered, the education system here. So I'm telling you, yes, grammar will help if you're already a user, if you're actually using the language. But simply learning grammar, thinking, now I should know the language is not a good position to take. As if you're an adult, do both. Use it, and when you use something, if you know what the rule is, if it helps, learn the rule. And within Sri Lanka doesn't even have English as a second language context. Very often it's English as a foreign language, which is even further removed from a second language. A second language is when you hear it, even a little bit. But if you take the majority of people in this country, they don't even hear it accidentally unless they make the context for themselves. So in a campus, I'll just say that also, if you design a syllabus in which you're told, don't tell them what the grammar rule is, just give them practice. I think that's a bit making it harder for yourself, because these adults will go out and have no English input at all. And they would have had 2 hours of practicing something without knowing what they are practicing. So in that context, telling them what they are doing might make the journey easier. Like, why make it more difficult when an easy thing is there? So long as you understand that only teaching the grammar is not important, usage is important, but doing both together to adults who can grasp it To adults who need some kind of rational ladder to get up to some kind of proficiency, use both. But do not be hung up on grammar, because grammar does not make you a good user. It will make you understand the language better, like linguists do. But use it to understand how you can actually physically use the language in your real life. So that's my position on it. And if you are someone who thinks, I don't know grammar, therefore I can't learn English, grammar is the easiest to learn, easiest to teach, but make the context for usage yourself. It's not easy in this country. And once you are in that journey, grammar will always help you. Thank you very much.